The planet Varela was quiet once, a jewel in the stars. Its cities sparkled under twin suns. Its people lived in harmony, and trade ships moved freely between the moons and orbiting stations. The planet was home to many species, but its strength lay not in armies or weapons. It lay in cooperation, science, and ingenuity. That strength had lasted generations. Until the Zarth Dominion arrived. No one knew exactly where the Zarth came from. They appeared suddenly in the system's outer rim, their warships vast and black, cutting through space like knives. They carried weapons that could melt mountains and armies that seemed unstoppable. They struck fast, destroying trade fleets, smashing orbital defenses and taking cities before anyone could call for help. On Lunaris Prime, Varela's capital, alarms screamed constantly. Citizens ran through streets filled with smoke. Children clung to their parents as buildings collapsed. Soldiers fired back, but their plasma cannons and defensive shields barely slowed the enemy. Among the defenders was Captain Rinkal, a tall reptilian officer with green scales and yellow eyes. He had trained for decades in the Virelan Defense Force. He had fought smaller conflicts, dealt with pirates, and even negotiated with hostile alien mercenaries. But nothing prepared him for the Zarth. Rinkal stood on the bridge of a command tower, watching a Zarth ship fire upon the city below. Explosions rocked the streets, sending clouds of dust and debris high into the air. He could see the panic on the faces of his soldiers, young and old alike. "We cannot hold them," whispered Lieutenant Vero, his second in command, his voice trembling. "They are too many, too strong. Even our best defenses, they do not matter." Rinkal's jaw tightened. He had hoped for reinforcements. The Galactic Council, the alliance of planets that promised peace and protection, had ignored Varela's calls. For weeks they had sent no aid. Every message was delayed, every request unanswered. "This is not over," Rinkal said firmly, though inside, he felt the weight of despair. "We fight until there is no fight left." The Zarth advanced in formations that seemed alive, adjusting to each attack with uncanny precision. Their weapons were devastating, and their soldiers, though few in number compared to their machines, were fierce. Rinkal had lost count of the towers, factories, and homes destroyed. Entire neighborhoods had vanished. He turned to a map glowing on the command panel. Red blips marked enemy positions. Green blips marked his own forces. The green was shrinking. Every passing hour the red grew. A young pilot, trembling but determined, ran up. "Captain, we've lost the outer shield generators. The city will fall within hours." Rinkal closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. "We do what we can. Evacuate civilians to the underground shelters. Hold the command tower. If nothing else, we must survive to fight another day." Even as he spoke, the ground shook beneath his feet. Explosions rocked the city like distant thunder. Civilians screamed, trying to flee the streets as fires spread. Rinkal watched helplessly as one of the outer districts collapsed entirely into a crater of fire. He had fought battles before, but never like this. Never against an enemy that seemed unstoppable, that crushed everything in its path. The Virelan Defense Force was brave, yes, but bravery alone could not save a city from annihilation. Hours turned into a long, terrifying day. The skies were filled with the roar of Zarth fighters. Smoke darkened the twin suns, casting the city in a grim shadow. Rinkal moved from station to station, giving orders, calming soldiers, doing everything a commander could. But inside, he felt the creeping truth. They were losing. In one quiet moment, Rinkal looked out of a window overlooking the main square. Civilians were trying to form lines, carrying whatever they could from burning buildings. Some were hurt, some were terrified, and some had already given up. He thought of the families he had promised to protect, of the citizens who had trusted him to keep them safe. And he wondered how long they could survive. Lieutenant Vero approached him again, holding a small datapad. "Captain, the Galactic Council has responded. They cannot send aid. They say Varela is a lost cause." Rinkal felt a chill. A lost cause. He had heard the term before, but hearing it now applied to his home made his heart sink. The Council had left them. Alone, he clenched his fists. "Then we fight for ourselves. Not for the Council. Not for glory. For every soul in this city. For our children. We fight." The lieutenant nodded, though he did not meet Rinkal's eyes. Both men understood the grim truth. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and soon out of time. Night fell, but the Zarth did not rest. Their ships hovered over the city like predators ready to strike again. Fires burned across Lunaris Prime, lighting the smoke in an eerie red glow. Soldiers tried to hold the streets, barricading themselves where they could, but the enemy was relentless. In the command tower, Rinkal paced. He reviewed every strategy, every possible escape, every possible defense. Nothing seemed sufficient. The city's shield generators were gone, supplies were nearly depleted, and yet, he refused to surrender. He thought of the legends his people told, the stories of heroes who fought impossible odds, of victories that came when all hope seemed lost. Could such a thing happen here? Could they survive when the universe itself seemed to have turned against them? The sound of explosions continued through the night. Civilians screamed, soldiers shouted orders. Amid the chaos, Rinkal noticed something unusual, a faint glow in the sky moving fast. It was unlike anything the Zarth ships produced. It moved with precision, almost as if it knew where to go. Lieutenant Vero saw it too. "Captain, look." "What is that?" Rinkal squinted, trying to make sense of the streak of light cutting through the smoke-filled sky. It was not a Zarth weapon, not a meteor, not debris. Something else, something approaching fast. He stepped closer to the window, his heart pounding. "Prepare the sensors. Identify it." The sensors struggled to read the object. It was moving too fast, too purposefully. And then it began to descend, breaking through the upper atmosphere. Rinkal's stomach tightened. Could it be reinforcements? He whispered, almost afraid to hope. The lieutenant shook his head. No one could come this fast. The council said we were abandoned. We are alone. Yet despite the words, a spark of hope stirred in Rinkal's chest. Perhaps it was a miracle. Perhaps in this darkest hour the universe had not completely forgotten them. The glow grew brighter. It split into multiple streaks, each moving toward the city with remarkable accuracy. Rinkal could now see shapes, ships unlike any he had seen before, sleek, black, and armored. They cut through the smoke, silent yet powerful, descending directly toward the Zarth positions. Rinkal felt his heart leap. Could it be possible? Could help really be here? The first of the new ships hit the ground with precision, releasing soldiers in armored suits. They moved quickly, systematically, and without hesitation. Their weapons fired in perfect coordination, taking out Zarth squads with almost surgical accuracy. Rinkal and his officers watched, speechless. These were not ordinary soldiers, they were something else. Something prepared, trained, and unstoppable. The lieutenant whispered awe in his voice. Who are they?" Rinkal did not answer immediately. He could barely believe what he was seeing. His mind raced, thinking of the impossible, the legends, the old stories of humanity, a species thought to be quiet and isolated, who had survived wars long ago. Could it be humans? The glow of their weapons lit up the streets. The Zarth, caught off guard, scrambled in confusion. Buildings they had claimed moments before were now reclaimed by defenders aided by these new warriors. Civilians stared from behind barricades, unable to comprehend the miracle unfolding before them. Rinkal's jaw tightened. No matter who they are, they have come to help. And if they have come, we may still survive. For the first time in weeks, he felt a glimmer of hope. The battle was far from over. The city was still in danger. But something had changed. The tide, perhaps, was about to turn. Above the chaos, the new soldiers advanced with relentless precision, their presence a promise as long as they fought. Virella was not yet lost, and in that moment, standing among the smoke, fire, and rubble, Captain Rinkal allowed himself a single thought. Maybe, just maybe, this war could be won. The first light of Virella's dawn brought with it a strange glowing haze in the sky. The fires from the previous day still burned, sending thick clouds of smoke across the city. The streets were littered with rubble, and the distant sound of Zarth bombardments echoed through the air. For weeks, despair had filled every corner of Lunaris Prime. But today a new sound cut through the chaos, a rhythmic, purposeful hum unlike any machine the defenders had ever heard. Captain Rinkal and Lieutenant Vero stood on the command tower, scanning the horizon. "It's them," Vero whispered, her voice trembling. "The ships, they've landed." Rinkal didn't speak immediately. His yellow eyes narrowed as he watched dozens of sleek black dropships descending through the smoke. They moved in perfect formation, not scattering under fire, not hesitating for even a second. The Zarth fighters tried to intercept, launching volleys of plasma missiles, but the dropships adjusted mid-flight, evading every attack with mechanical precision. "They're not like any known fleet," Rincal said finally. "They are organized, too fast, too precise." The dropships touched down with controlled force, kicking up dust and debris. From their hatches emerged soldiers unlike any Rincal had ever seen. They were tall, wearing black armor that glinted in the firelight, their helmets reflecting the burning city. They carried weapons that seemed alive, humming softly as if aware of the battlefield around them. Rincal's communicator crackled. "Captain, they're moving into the streets," reported one of his lieutenants. "Zarth squads. They're falling back." "They're retreating?" Before he could answer, a human voice spoke through the translation system, calm and firm. "Commander Rincal, we received your distress signal. We are here to take your planet back. Stay with your people, follow our lead, and survive. That is all you need to do," Rincal stared. He had expected reinforcements, perhaps some distant council fleet, but nothing like this. These humans, if that is what they were, moved with a confidence and calm that no being in the galaxy could ignore. The humans advanced through the ruined streets, moving in perfect synchronization. Their steps were deliberate but fast, their eyes scanning, analyzing. They worked in teams of 3 or 4, each unit covering the other, communicating silently through gestures and small devices. Every shot they fired hit its mark. Every Zarth soldier in their path fell before the humans reached them. Lieutenant Vera whispered, awe in her voice. They don't make mistakes." Rincal nodded slowly, feeling hope bloom for the first time in weeks. "No, they do not." The Zarth commander was equally stunned. His soldiers had fought countless worlds into submission, but these new opponents were unlike anything he had ever faced. They advanced without fear, without hesitation, and without panic, cutting through the defenders of Lunaris Prime as if the humans were born for this purpose. Rincal moved his team into the streets alongside the humans. He felt a mix of fear and relief. His soldiers were exhausted, demoralized, and barely able to hold their own. But with these newcomers, suddenly the battle felt winnable. One of the humans, a woman with short brown hair and piercing blue eyes, moved toward Rincal. Her armor bore a symbol he did not recognize, something circular, glowing softly. "Commander," she said clearly, "I am Lieutenant Sarah Holt. Your people are under attack. We will secure the city. You will follow our instructions. Stay alive. That is your mission." Rincal bowed slightly, both in respect and disbelief. "Understood, Lieutenant. My people will follow your lead." The humans moved through the streets like water, finding Zarth positions hidden in ruins, buildings, and bunkers. Their weapons glowed and fired with precision, and small drones launched from their packs to scout ahead. The Zarth tried to fire back, but their weapons could not match the humans' adaptability. Every strategy they attempted was met with countermeasures faster than they could react. Cal watched as a group of human soldiers reached a destroyed plaza where a Zarth squad had been firing upon civilians. Within moments, the Zarth soldiers were disarmed, their weapons disabled, and their paths blocked. Not a single human was injured. Not a single civilian harmed. "They fight differently than anyone I have ever seen," Rincal murmured. "They do not just attack. They anticipate. They think. They protect." Sarah Holt noticed his gaze. "We fight to survive and to protect those who cannot fight. That is what humans have learned over thousands of years. We do not take lives lightly, but we do not hesitate when the innocent are in danger." The city, once filled with screams and despair, now resonated with a new sound. Hope. Civilians peered from the rubble, seeing the humans advance without fear. Soldiers of Virella regained confidence, picking themselves up, reorganizing, and joining the humans in the fight. By midday, the first major Zarth checkpoint had fallen. The human tactics were unlike anything the Virellans had ever seen. They did not rely on brute force alone. They coordinated, flanked, and adapted. Every failure was turned into a lesson immediately, every danger avoided with uncanny skill. Rincal found himself running alongside a small unit of humans, his soldiers following as best they could. Explosions shook the buildings, but the humans moved calmly. "We have to clear the northern streets," Sarah Holt ordered. "Zarth reinforcements are moving from the main gate. We intercept there." Rincal nodded and shouted orders to his men. Despite exhaustion and fear, they obeyed. Together, humans and Virellans pushed through the burning streets, gradually turning the tide in their favor. Even the Zarth commander began to show signs of panic. His communications were frantic. His soldiers were falling faster than reinforcements could arrive. They had never faced an enemy that moved with such efficiency, bravery, and coordination. In one decisive strike, a squad of humans launched micro-drones into a Zarth supply depot. In minutes, the entire depot was neutralized, cutting off reinforcements and ammunition. The Zarth soldiers had no choice but to retreat or surrender. Rinkal watched in amazement. "They are unstoppable," he whispered to Lieutenant Vero. "They are not just soldiers," Vero replied softly. "They are legends." By evening, the streets of Lunaris-Prime were cleared of Zarth forces. Fires still burned. But the city was no longer a battlefield lost to invaders. The humans had achieved what seemed impossible. They had turned despair into hope. Rinkal gathered his exhausted officers. "We have survived," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "Not because of luck, not because of weapons, because someone strong, disciplined, and brave came when we needed them most. Humanity. They are here." Lieutenant Holt approached him once more. "Commander, our job is not finished. The Zarth will not stop. They will regroup. But with your people and our forces together, we can drive them back completely. You are not alone anymore." Rinkal looked out over the city. The human soldiers patrolled the streets with calm determination, guiding civilians to safety, neutralizing threats, and preparing for the next wave of Zarth attacks. The city had a second chance because humans had come. That night, for the first time in weeks, Rinkal allowed himself to sleep without fear. He knew the battle was far from over, but he also knew something vital. The humans had arrived and the tide of war was no longer one-sided. Above the city, the stars glimmered. Somewhere beyond Varela, the rest of humanity's fleet waited, ready to support the defenders. For the people of Lunaris-Prime, hope had returned. And for the first time in a long time, Rinkal believed the impossible might just be possible. Varela could be saved. The next morning, the city of Lunaris-Prime was alive again, but this time not with panic, smoke, and fear. It was alive with purpose. Civilians moved cautiously through cleared streets carrying water, food, and supplies. Varelan soldiers, tired but determined, checked barricades and repaired damaged communication lines. And above all, the humans, the mysterious, disciplined warriors, were everywhere, moving with precision and calm. Captain Rinkal walked alongside Lieutenant Sarah Holt as she gave orders to her soldiers. Each human squad moved like a single organism, covering every alley, every street, and every rooftop. Their drones scouted ahead, silently neutralizing traps and Zarth patrols. "They do not just fight," Rinkal whispered to Vero, who followed him closely. "They control the battlefield. They do not react. They predict." Vero nodded, her eyes wide with awe. "It's like they know everything before it happens." Sarah Holt overheard them and smiled faintly. "We study patterns, Commander. We study the enemy and ourselves. That is how we survive and win." The Zarth commander was not idle. He had retreated during the humans' arrival, but now he regrouped his forces in the city's industrial district. Massive war machines and armored infantry assembled behind reinforced barriers, ready to strike. He underestimated the humans at his peril, but even his experienced soldiers began to feel fear. The humans had destroyed units thought invincible, and had done so without panic or error. Rinkal and his officers prepared a counterattack. For weeks they had fought defensively, protecting what little remained. Now with human support, they had the opportunity to reclaim lost ground. Sarah Holt turned to Rinkal. "We strike together. You and your soldiers will support our squads. Protect civilians, hold flanks, and follow our lead. We advance in 3 waves. First, we clear the streets near the northern gates. Then we push to the industrial district. Finally, we confront the Zarth commander's forces directly. Do you understand?" Rinkal nodded. "Understood, Lieutenant. My soldiers will follow your lead." The first wave moved quickly through the streets. Humans took the lead, clearing debris and neutralizing Zarth patrols with calm precision. They did not shout, they did not panic. Their movements were deliberate, but each step carried deadly efficiency. Rinkal's soldiers, inspired by the humans, followed, firing where they could, clearing the streets and protecting civilians. Slowly, the northern district was reclaimed. The Zarth soldiers retreated to regroup, stunned by the humans' coordination and bravery. In one alley, Rinkal saw a group of human soldiers work together to dismantle a Zarth barricade. They used synchronized devices that disabled the enemy's weapons while allowing his team to move in without risk. How do they do that? Muttered a young Virilan recruit. They fight as one, Rinkal said quietly, not as individuals, but as a team. That is the strength of humans. By midday, the second wave began. The industrial district was dangerous. Tall factories provided cover for the Zarth, and automated turrets threatened anyone who moved too close. But the humans advanced as if the danger did not exist. Drones flew ahead, mapping enemy positions, marking weak points, and even disabling some defenses remotely. Human soldiers moved quickly, clearing paths for Virelan troops to follow. They coordinated perfectly, flanking Zarth units before they realized the attack had begun. Rinkal led a small unit to support them, holding intersections and helping civilians escape from the industrial zones. Together, humans and Virelans reclaimed factories, workshops, and streets that had been lost for weeks. In the heart of the industrial district, the Zarth commander watched in disbelief. His forces were breaking and the humans did not stop. He called for reinforcements, but many units refused, demoralized by the humans' relentless advance. One of Sarah Holt's squads reached a Zarth command outpost. Using a combination of speed and technology, they disabled the communications tower and secured the building without a single human casualty. The Virelan soldiers nearby cheered, amazed by the humans' abilities. Rinkal observed this and felt a deep respect. They do not just fight to kill, he said. They fight to protect life. That is why they are different. The final wave approached the Zarth commander's main forces. Hundreds of soldiers, mechanized units, and war machines stood ready, confident that no army could break their lines. They had faced countless worlds and won, but they had never faced humans. Sarah Holt's voice rang out through the comms system. Advance. No hesitation. Protect civilians. Strike with precision. The humans surged forward, firing in perfect rhythm, using every tool at their disposal. Drones disabled enemy weapons, grenades cleared traps, and soldiers flanked relentlessly. The Zarth fought back, but the humans adapted instantly, shifting formations and tactics faster than any Zarth officer could respond. Rinkal's men, following the humans, were inspired. They moved faster, aimed more carefully, and regained the courage they had lost. Even the civilians helped, passing supplies and guiding troops through the streets. The battle reached the central plaza, where the Zarth commander had established his temporary headquarters. Massive war machines rumbled forward, firing at humans and Virelans alike. But the humans were ready. They fired missiles that struck with pinpoint accuracy, disabling the machines one by one. Lieutenant Holt led a squad directly into the plaza, dodging debris and fire. Rinkal followed, his heart racing. Together, humans and Virelans pushed the Zarth back, forcing them to retreat into the surrounding streets. The Zarth commander, seeing his forces crumble, ordered a withdrawal. Fall back, he shouted, but the humans anticipated it. They cut off escape routes, forcing the Zarth into smaller groups, each of which was neutralized swiftly. By nightfall, the main streets of Lunaris Prime were reclaimed. Fires still burned, but the Zarth had lost control. Civilians emerged from hiding, cheering for the humans and Virelans who had fought side by side. Rinkal approached Sarah Holt, exhausted but full of gratitude. You have done what we thought impossible. You have turned this city's fate. Sarah shook her head. We did not do it alone. Your people fought with courage. We only helped guide the fight. You reclaimed your home, Commander. That is your victory. Rinkal looked over the city, seeing soldiers, humans, and civilians working together to secure the streets and help the wounded. The city was far from safe, but for the first time hope felt real. Tomorrow, he said quietly, we will drive the Zarth from this planet completely. Sarah smiled faintly. We will be here, Commander. Together nothing is impossible. As night settled over Lunaris Prime, stars shone above. The humans patrolled, prepared for any counterattack, while the Virelans rebuilt defenses and tended to the wounded. The city, once on the brink of total destruction, had a chance to survive and thrive. And for Captain Rinkal, one thought dominated his mind. Humanity was no myth, no legend. They were real. They were strong. They were brave. And now with them at their side, Virella might just survive the impossible. The night over Lunaris Prime was quiet compared to the chaos of the previous days, but the calm was deceptive. Fires still burned in the distant parts of the city, and the occasional rumble of Zarth retreat convoys reminded everyone that the enemy was not defeated, only delayed. Captain Rinkal stood atop a damaged building, overlooking the city with Lieutenant Vero at his side. "Commander," Vero said softly, "the humans, they didn't just save us, they've changed everything. Our soldiers are no longer afraid. Civilians believe we can survive, even the Zarth." They hesitate, Rinkal nodded slowly. "I've fought in many battles, Vero. I've seen courage and skill. But these humans, they are something else. They do not just fight, they inspire." Lieutenant Sarah Holt appeared beside him as if she had been listening. "Humans fight differently because we are prepared for the impossible," she said calmly. "We study, we adapt, and we act. That is why we survive." Rinkal turned to her. "Prepared? How? How long have you been preparing for this?" Sarah's eyes were steady. "Since the old war. Our people have learned the cost of being unprepared. We do not forget the lessons of history, and we do not ignore cries for help when we can act. Virella's distress signal reached us and we came. That is what humanity does." Rinkal felt a mixture of awe and humility. These beings, unknown to most of the galaxy, had been silently preparing while other worlds assumed they were extinct or weak. And now they had arrived at the perfect moment. "Then it is no wonder," Rinkal murmured. "You appear when all hope is lost, and yet you are unstoppable." Sarah glanced at the horizon, where the Zarth forces had regrouped in the outskirts of the industrial district. "They will not give up easily. The Zarth are stubborn, but neither are we." The humans moved through the streets with purpose, preparing for the next phase of the battle. Rinkal followed them closely, observing their strategy. They did not move in large formations. Instead, they divided into small squads, each assigned a specific task: one to scout, one to intercept, one to defend civilians, and one to disable enemy supplies. Their communication was silent, a network of signals, gestures, and devices that connected them instantly across the city. "Commander," Sarah said, "we cannot just hold the city. We must strike the Zarth before they regroup fully. The longer we wait, the stronger they become." Rinkal nodded. "Then we fight again, together." As dawn approached, the humans led the charge. Small units moved quickly through the streets, neutralizing Zarth patrols with precision. Drones scouted ahead, mapping enemy positions, disabling traps, and even providing real-time updates to squads approaching from different angles. Rinkal's soldiers, inspired by the humans, fought with renewed energy. They followed commands, coordinated movements, and regained the courage that fear had stolen from them. Civilians helped where they could, passing ammunition, guiding troops through hidden paths, and protecting the wounded. In the heart of the city, the Zarth commander prepared a desperate counterattack. His forces were fewer now, morale was low, and the humans' presence had shifted the balance. But he would not surrender. He ordered his war machines to advance and his elite squads to hold strategic points. The humans anticipated it. Small drones disabled the war machines before they could fire. Soldiers flanked the elite squads, neutralizing them without unnecessary casualties. The Zarth were clever, but they had never faced opponents who adapted as fast as humans. Rinkal observed one squad moving through the ruined streets. The humans were not just fighting, they were teaching. They showed Virellan soldiers how to anticipate enemy movements, how to coordinate attacks, and how to protect civilians simultaneously. Each maneuver increased the city's survival chances exponentially. "Watch closely, Commander," Sarah said. "This is how we fight together. This is how victory is earned." Hours passed and the battle reached its critical point, the Zarth commander's central base in the city's eastern district. The humans did not hesitate. Small, precise teams infiltrated the perimeter, disabling communications, neutralizing traps, and guiding Virellan soldiers through the safest paths. Rinkal led his men alongside them, holding intersections, clearing debris, and protecting the squads as they advanced. The coordination was remarkable. No orders were wasted, no movement unnecessary. Every action contributed to the larger strategy. The Zarth commander realized too late that his forces were trapped. Escape routes were cut off. Reinforcements had been neutralized. His elite squads were defeated one by one. Panic began to spread among his ranks. a feeling they were not accustomed to. Sarah Holt addressed her squad through the comms. Final push. Protect civilians. Disable enemy command. Neutralize threats. Move now. The humans surged forward and Varellan soldiers followed, the streets filled with precise, unstoppable action. Zarth war machines fell under concentrated strikes. Enemy squads, confused and demoralized, surrendered or fled. Finally, they reached the central command post. The Zarth commander tried to order a retreat, but human squads had blocked every exit. They moved with coordination, strength, and calm determination. Within minutes, the commander and his remaining forces were captured or forced to surrender. Rinkal stood beside Sarah Holt in the central plaza, surrounded by exhausted but victorious soldiers. The humans had done more than fight. They had shifted the very balance of power. The city was safe for now, and the Zarth had been dealt a crushing blow. "You've shown us more than just combat skill," Rinkal said quietly. "You've shown us courage, hope, and strategy. I've never seen anything like it," Sarah smiled. "We fight for survival, Commander. We fight to protect those who cannot fight for themselves, and we fight to remind the galaxy that hope is never truly lost." Rinkal nodded. "Then it is no wonder the Zarth are afraid of humans. You are not just warriors. You are legends in the making." The city began to recover. Humans and Varellans worked together to clear debris, rebuild defenses, and aid civilians. For the first time in weeks, Lunaris Prime felt safe. Civilians returned to their homes, soldiers patrolled with confidence, and even the skies seemed less threatening. But Rinkal knew the battle was far from over. The Zarth had other forces in the system, and they would not give up easily. Yet with humans by their side, the impossible now felt possible. As night fell, the stars above Lunaris Prime shone brighter than before. The humans set up temporary bases, their technology securing the city and preparing for future threats. Rinkal looked at them with newfound respect. "These humans," he murmured to Vero. "They do not just fight to survive. They fight so others can survive too. That is something no enemy can ever break." Vero nodded. "Yes, Commander. They are more than soldiers. They are hope, and hope is stronger than any weapon." Rinkal allowed himself a small smile. For the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of calm. The city had been saved. The Zarth had been pushed back. And a new ally, one stronger than he had ever imagined, had arrived. In the shadows of humanity's presence, the people of Virella understood something profound. The galaxy had changed forever. Where once they had feared extinction, now they had a chance. Where once hope had seemed lost, now it burned brighter than any fire in the city's streets. And as the humans patrolled the city, ever vigilant, ever prepared, one thought settled in Rinkal's mind. As long as humans fought alongside them, the impossible could be achieved. The tide had truly turned. The dawn over Lunaris Prime was quiet but bright, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past weeks. Smoke still rose from some of the city's burned districts, but it was faint, almost insignificant against the rising twin suns. The people of Virella moved through streets cleared of Zarth forces, rebuilding homes, tending the wounded, and restoring what had been destroyed. Captain Rinkal walked with Lieutenant Sarah Holt through one of the central plazas, now filled with civilians returning to their daily routines. His eyes were filled with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "I never thought we would see this day," he said softly. "The city, it's alive again," Sarah smiled faintly. "It's not just alive. It's free, and it will remain free as long as we stay vigilant." Rinkal glanced around at the human soldiers patrolling the streets. Their presence was calm, confident, and reassuring. Unlike the Zarth, they did not strike fear. They inspired courage. They moved silently, protecting civilians, guiding Virellan soldiers, and ensuring that every corner of the city was secure. "These humans," Rinkal whispered to Vero, who walked beside him, "they do not just fight. They teach, they lead, they inspire. I have never seen anything like it," Vero nodded. "And they are not here for power or glory. They are here to help. That is why the Zarth could not break them." Even as the city began to rebuild, the Zarth commander was still thinking of revenge. He had fled to the outskirts of Virella with a fraction of his original forces, hoping to regroup and strike again. But the humans had already anticipated this. Small, precise squads had tracked his movements, blocking escape routes and disabling enemy supplies. By midday, the remaining Zarth forces had been captured or forced to surrender. No one could underestimate the humans again. The legend of humanity, whispered in the darkest corners of the galaxy, had been proven true on Virella. Rinkal joined a gathering of Virellan officers and human leaders to discuss the next steps. Sarah Holt addressed the room with calm authority. The Zarth may return, but they will not find a weak planet here. We will help you rebuild, secure your defenses, and train your soldiers. Together, Virella will be strong enough to withstand any attack. The officers exchanged looks of amazement. The humans were not here to conquer or control. They were here to teach, guide, and protect. This was unlike anything Rinkal had ever experienced. Over the following days, humans worked alongside Virellans to rebuild the city. They repaired damaged power grids, restored communication networks, and cleared rubble from streets. Their technology was advanced, yet they shared it generously, showing Virellans how to use it, how to maintain it, and how to adapt it to their own defenses. Rinkal observed a group of young Virellan soldiers training under human supervision. They moved with more confidence, aiming more accurately, and coordinating their actions in ways they had never learned before. For the first time, Virella's defenders were not just surviving. They were becoming capable of holding their own against even the strongest enemies. Sarah Holt approached him as he watched the training. "Your people have courage, Commander," she said. "We only guide them. They have the spirit that no army can ever teach." Rinkal nodded. "Your guidance. It is more than strategy. It is hope. You have given my people the belief that we can survive, that we can win. That is invaluable," Sarah smiled. "That is what humans do. We fight, we protect, and we inspire. We do not seek glory, only justice and survival for those who cannot defend themselves." As the days passed, word of the humans' arrival spread across Virella. Civilians and soldiers alike spoke of their courage, discipline, and compassion. Children told stories of the black-armored warriors who had come from the stars to save their city. Adults whispered about how the humans had fought without fear, protected without hesitation, and led without arrogance. Even the Galactic Council arrived, astonished to find Virella liberated. Their leaders had assumed the planet would fall, its people defeated, and the Zarth victorious. But they were wrong. Humans had not only arrived, they had turned the tide of war. Rinkal stood with Sarah Holt as council representatives toured the city. "They assumed humans were myths," he said quietly, "but now, the galaxy knows the truth. Humans are real. Humans fight when hope is lost. Humans change the impossible into the possible." Sarah nodded, "And we will continue to do so as long as there is need. Virella is safe now, but the galaxy is vast and there are others who may face threats. That is why we prepare, and why we act." In the following weeks, humans and Virellans worked to establish permanent defenses. Observation posts, automated turrets, and rapid response teams were set up across the city and its surrounding areas. Humans trained Virellan soldiers in advanced tactics, teaching them to anticipate attacks, protect civilians, and operate with unity and discipline. Rinkal walked through one of the rebuilt districts, watching families return to their homes, children laughing, and soldiers patrolling with confidence. He could feel the change in the air, the shift from fear to hope, from despair to determination. Sarah Holt joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Commander, this is the new dawn. Your people will survive. Your city will thrive. And when the Zarth or any enemy returns, you will be ready, not just to survive, but to win." Rinkal looked around, taking in the city he had sworn to protect. "You have done more than save us, Lieutenant. You have given Virella a future, a chance to survive, and to grow stronger." Sarah shook her head. "We only provided guidance. Your people fought. Your people rebuilt. That is the true strength of Virella. Humanity only reminds others of what they are capable of when they refuse to give up." As the twin suns set over the horizon, the city glowed with a new light, a mixture of fire from repairs, reflections from rebuilt buildings, and the quiet hum of restored machinery. The Zarth threat had been neutralized, but more importantly, the people of Virella had regained faith in themselves. Rinkal stood on a high hill overlooking the city, watching humans patrol the streets. "They did not come to rule us," he said softly. "They came to fight, to teach and to protect. That is what makes them extraordinary." Viro joined him, nodding. "And they have shown us that courage and hope can exist even in the darkest moments. The galaxy may have feared humanity or thought them myths, but now we know the truth. They are guardians, legends who fight when all seems lost. Rinkal closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the past weeks lift. The city was safe. His people were alive. And humanity, strong, brave, and wise, had changed the course of their destiny. A soft voice beside him said, "Commander, there is something to remember." It was Sarah Holt. "Even when we leave, your people will continue to grow stronger. We fight so that others can fight too. That is our way." Rinkal opened his eyes and looked at her. "I will not forget, Lieutenant. Virella will continue to stand. And when the galaxy faces darkness again, I will remember what humans have taught us." Sarah nodded, and that is why the tide turned. Not because of power, not because of weapons, but because someone refused to let hope die. Humans fight for life, for justice, and for those who cannot fight alone. That is a lesson worth remembering. As night fell over Lunaris Prime, stars sparkled brightly in the sky. The humans continued their patrols, ensuring safety, guiding soldiers and preparing for any threat. Below, the people of Virella rested, repaired, and rebuilt, their spirits renewed. For Captain Rinkal, one truth became clear. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Their arrival had not only saved a city, it had inspired a world. And so, as the twin suns rose again, Virella entered a new era. The city was free, the people were strong, and the legend of humanity had begun to spread across the stars. The message was simple but powerful. When all hope seems lost, look to the stars. Humanity will come and the tide will turn.